As you saw here just a few days ago, Adobe has released its own generative AI platform called Firefly, which allows you to turn text prompts into images and one-of-a-kind type effects. Today, I'm going to show you how to achieve even better effects using basic tags, which Adobe is calling prompt parameters because you enter them along with the text prompt. And they're actually really easy and really useful once you know they exist. Who's going to tell you all about them? That would be me. Let's go. Here we are looking at a handful of style tags, or if you prefer, prompt parameters, so called because you enter them directly into the prompt line. Any order, doesn't matter. You can add a tag before a prompt or after. You just need to make sure it's surrounded by square brackets as we're seeing right here. Now, they may look a little bit technical. I assure you they're not. They're very easy to use, even though some of them are a little bit strange. Now, they do vary in terms of utility, starting at the top with iterations and going on down. I am a big fan of the iterations tag. That's the number of times Firefly runs the prompt in order to come up with its style variations. If it were to run the prompt just once, it would get terrible results. And you're going to see that in just a moment, which is why it needs to run that prompt over and over again in order to refine the results for every single variation. A higher value produces better results, but it takes longer. Who cares? Anyway, the supported range, it's not like it goes that much faster when you take the value down. The supported range for X is 5 at the minimum to 60 at the maximum. I wish that maximum were like 300, frankly. But anyway, the default is 30. And so let's see what that looks like inside Firefly. We've got text to image. This is all going to change, of course, over time. But right now we've got text to image over on the left-hand side. We have text effects. I prefer to think of them as type effects. That's me. Because text, that's the prompt. You enter a bunch of text into the prompt and you get an AI image. Here, we're actually dressing up type. Anyway, you join me, won't you? As I click on generate, there's my driftwood right there. Missed it so much. Gonna click on it. You don't have to wait for anything to catch up with you, by the way. You can just start entering things as much as you like. I'll change the text effect fit to tight right here, even though nothing seems to be happening on screen. I'll switch to poplar because it gives me these rounded corners, as you can see here, big, thick, impacty like letter forms that are condensed as well. Background color, I do not want orange. I want nothing. Thank you very much, so that I can integrate this transparent ping file into a Photoshop composition or what have you. And then I'm going to change my prompt right here to tree limbs, snow, springtime, squirrels, and sparrows. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see some recognizable critters on screen right here so that we can gauge the results. Now, at this point, what you want to do is click download. Why not download every single thing you create? I don't see any reason not to, because they're all unique, even if they're a little bit malformed. Now, I also recommend, by the way, notice each one of these variations, we're seeing the lead letter, which is the capital D, but the other letters have not been generated until you click on that variation. But what I like to do is click on every variation, let it do its thing. You can see that we have some progress going on down here. And just to make sure that everybody is loaded, all 4 variations are 100% loaded. Now notice that you can click on any one of them to switch between them very easily. And that way you're less likely to mess up, in my opinion. That way you look at this and you go, I love this. I'm going to click the download button. And by the way, I love this. I'm going to click the download button, as opposed to accidentally clicking refresh and losing everything. I've done that. I've only been using this thing for a few weeks, and I've done that, I'm pretty sure, a million times. Anyway, let's check out what we got here. This is a pretty good squirrel over here in the D, and this is a mouth-shaped squirrel over here, and this is just a squirrel butt, I guess. And nice sparrow. I'm not much of a bird expert, but still, I gather that is a bird. And these guys are looking pretty good. He's looking terrible, but still over in the E. But what'll happen is that we'll get kind of various results at 30 iterations. 2 eyes on the same side of that bird's head. I gather that's its head. And then kind of, things are getting disastrous downstairs there. And we have kind of a weird tail that's made of driftwood, perhaps, and whatever this thing is, and so forth, which is unrecognizable junk inside of these letters right here. And that is a function of not adding an iterations value. So let's try one, shall we? I'm going to open a bracket, so left bracket, right? And then I'll enter iterations, which just has one T up front. Notice that. You do have to make sure, I had caps lock on for dance, need to turn it off for this. So these are case sensitive. And then I'll just say equals 5, just because that's going to be the quickest, so that you can see in close bracket there. So you can see how quickly things work. Well, not that quickly, right? It does take a moment or two, and we do get just disastrous results. Is that fair to call it disastrous? Because I don't have, notice there's no color assigned to the text over here, and yet we have this amazing degree of color variation. I think we have some form of bird or squirrel forming right here at this location. It's cool stuff, right? I mean, if I had drawn this by hand, I might be remotely proud of it. I mean, there's a lot to recommend it, but that is a function of as few iterations as you can apply here in Firefly. Wait, real quick, here's something else I created. Combination of a few type effects along with an imagined background. Created inside Firefly and then composed in Photoshop. I really want to show you the whole process, but you got to do a tiny thing for me. Join my Patreon at patreon.com/deeknow. And now back to those hidden but powerful prompt parameters. All right, now just so I don't have to wait for Firefly to generate every single one of these, I'm showing you, I'm running you through a slideshow inside Photoshop. So here is that same prompt set to iterations equals 60. So the highest iterations value possible. And you can see that we get much more recognizable effects. In fact, every one of these animals only has one eye on the side of its head. And this guy's just adorable over here in the D. Compare that to just another example. Every time you're going to get different results. Another example of iteration set to 5, which is actually pretty cool. All things considered, I would say I love this bird right here. Whatever he's doing, the colors are just drifting all over the place. I think we have some kind of rodent over here in the bottom left corner of the D. Now let's compare that to, let's say, iterations 30, actually specifying an iterations value of 30 this time around. And we get 2 eyes on the same side of this bird's head. We've got this tail that's coming out of nothing, which is fairly cool. We've got these guys, just this collection of kind of bunny squirrels. And my favorite, though, has to be him, the branch squirrel. Very, very delightful. But this is the kind of thing, the more iterations you run, the better results you're going to get. It's just quantifiable. It just does happen, as we can see right here. And this poor guy's got snow on him, and so did these guys. Just can't shake the snow, but they look great, don't you think? All right, moving along. Let's take a look at the next tag, which is style. It's actually called style. Style equals, and you just enter keywords. So keywords and other tags that were assigned by the creators of the original stock images and the public domain images, all the images that Adobe used to train Firefly style engine. There it is. And bear in mind, these are like, there isn't some kind of big, huge database of images just sitting around, and the tags actually go to those images and grab little chunks of images and assign them to your AI generated stuff. That's just not the way it works. That is, it's basically pixel patterns that are created that fit, in large and small, that fit certain words, certain keywords. Enter any descriptive words that you like. Totally up to you. This is AI, after all, separated by commas. All right, so let's try out a few of those. I'm going with a different prompt this time: owl eyes, night, wood, trees. And I just went with wood trees because if you start specifying a particular kind of tree, things get a little wonky. It's version 1.0 after all. And, even so, just wood trees gives us these wonderful wood effects. I love that this N is just crazy. Isn't that just cute? Just so adorable. Iteration 60. I want to highlight that. I am sticking to iterations equals 60. And I recommend you do the same. It's not that much slower than 5 to enter 60, and you are going to get measurably better results. So I'm doing that throughout my slideshow right here. And now let's go ahead and enter a style tag. So I'm color coding things just so you can tell one tag from another. Style equals, just made it up, psychedelic and rainbow, differentiated by a comma, and we end up, again, the N does really well. So does the D. It looks great, I believe. And then you can try different things. Try anything you want, in fact. Line art. So 2 words not separated by a comma. That works. Black and white, I used an ampersand this time around. It seems to have worked beautifully. Yellow, another color. And this time, I think the D is the star with the mama owl looking at its children. Isn't that so adorable? Also, the sort of beady eyes down here at the bottom of the U. Very much cool. All right, next we've got paper cutout, 2 words, not separated by a comma, blue and buttons. Just thought I'd try that, but I'm not sure how successful the buttons were, but I think everything else worked out quite nicely. All right, moving right along. Let's see the next tag, which is stylize equals XY. All right, so this is a little difficult to wrap your mind around. The percentage range in which the style is applied during the generation process. So imagine there's a generation process that goes from 0% to 100%. In which range do we define the style? X may be as low as 0. Y may be as high as 100. Presumably, you want X to be less than Y. The default range is 20 to 100. So the styling starts 20% into the generation process. What in the world does that look like? Well, I came up with a few examples here. We've got style. This is the default, and I just happen to enter it. You don't have to enter it for the default. You'll get the default by default. But notice that we get some well-defined owls at this point. This N, once again, absolutely is amazing in my opinion. But the other letters look great as well. So we basically are sitting on top of 80% stylization. So 100 minus 20. So as where the generative process is concerned, 80% of it is taken up by stylization, as well as, generating. Anyway, let's look at 20% intervals. Why don't we? Such as 0 to 20. Right up front, we're going to do all the stylization. I had set the color of the type to green, by the way. I didn't enter it as a prompt, just over the, it's an option to assign a color to your type in Firefly. And notice we get a lot of green, but we also get a lot of oranges. Once again, the N is looking wonderful for what it is. It's looking a little more abstract. The O has just a bunch of kind of eyes in it, in these eye holes in the wood, and then the S is just doing absolutely its own thing. All right, now I figured I'd take that 20% interval between 0 and 20 and move it to the other side, move it from 80 to 100, so that we're determining the style at the end of the generation process. As a result, in this case anyway, I get a preponderance of green, that color I assigned to the text, and we get a few owl eyes in very, very different forms. And then I move the 20% interval right there to the middle. So between 40% and 60% during the generation process, we have style. And that gets us away from that green a little bit, as you can see, but we also get some odd sort of little elements, details, I guess you'd call them. This text, this meaningless text at the top and the bottom of the D, and this 3-eyed owl right here. Oh, can't beat that. So then I thought, well, I'm just going to open it all the way so that we're stylizing the entire time from 0 to 100%, and we end up with these very recognizable looking owls right here. All right, so let's check out the next tab, or tag, that is to say, which is guidance. And that's just guidance equals X. That's a strength with which, that is, Firefly guides the style generation in favor of the prompt. So again, this style, this whole, between stylize and guidance here is drifting during the generation process. The supported range for X, believe it or not, is 0.0 to 25.0. You don't have to enter a decimal, but you can. Decimal values are permitted. The default is somewhere around 6.5 is what I found. So let's check that out. Why don't we? I came up with this guy, Dinosaur Swampy Jungle. Now, dinosaurs aren't Firefly's strongest animal as of yet, as things stand right now, and it definitely trends toward the predators. That can't work. They can't all be predators, but you can see that with the guidance of 6.5, which, as I say, I believe is the default, we get this big sort of T-Rex chomping down on the O in the P and all sorts of other stuff going on. What if I take that guidance value down to 2.3 is what I tried? Well, we end up not only with a little bit of stylistic repetition between the P and the O. So you may recall from my previous video, I was saying that if you repeat a letter as things stand now, you repeat an effect. You'll repeat the effect as well, even though you can mix them and match them in Photoshop later. But we're seeing a stylistic repeat between letters in this case. And things are looking kind of low contrast, a little kind of bad HDR, if you will. Whereas if I crank this value up to its maximum of 25.0, we get some very good definition. Now, Adobe's internal docs were basically saying, if you take the guidance value too high, you're going to lose detail. That is not my experience at all. I find that quite the contrary, you gain detail, as we're seeing right here. This guy's interesting. He doesn't have any eye, and he's got a very little cute body. But everybody else is looking quite good, in my opinion. Compare that to if I just omit the guidance tag altogether, which gives us that default setting. We have more curious results, put it that way. This guy has 2 eyes on one side of his head. This guy's got 0. This guy has 2 red eyes. This guy has a strange lower jaw. So anyway, give that a shot. Why won't you? Please. All right, I'm going to switch to avoid. Now, avoid is the same thing as style, except anti-style. It's the stuff you want to avoid. So keywords and other tags assigned to stock images that you hope to rule out of the generative process. Enter any descriptive words that you like. Now, again, assigned to stock images, that implies that somehow the keywords are linked to images on the fly. That just wouldn't even work. Just think about it. That would take way too much time in order to process back and forth the actual live images living in an enormous warehouse or something like that. Obviously, the warehouse would take up thousands of warehouses. Anyway, what it really is these are image patterns that are tied to specific words. However, to make them avoid those kinds of ties is a little precarious right now. So here's what I came up with. Skeletal arms, legs, ribs. Isn't that nice? Iteration 60 once again. So notice over here in the end, we have a bunch of bones sitting loose on rocks. I'm not sure why that is. The W is getting a little bit gruesome. It's got some red stuff in the background, not sure what, and some connective tissues perhaps. An alien looking, oh, very nice. Some redness at work, some tendons, if you will, in the V. And then in the E, we just plain have organs, including a liver. So let's say that's the kind of stuff. You want to avoid the gore, in which case you're going to have to really work at it, is what it comes down to. I went with avoid equals blood, guts, organs. Works out actually very well. I tried yellow, orange, red. I tried avoiding colors. That didn't work at all, but you may have better luck. And I also just thought I'd throw in their hands just to see if you could avoid hands. The answer was it did a great job on blood, guts, and organs, but hands we're still seeing here. So your success rate is likely to be low compared to the style tag, style equals. All right, what's next? We have, by the way, raw style equals true. This is an unusual one in that that's what you enter. You enter raw -style equals true, capital T. That's what you enter. You can try false. It's not going to do anything. So you want true. Well, it's going to do the same thing true is in my experience, but you can try, you can play around. Anyway, when you enter this tag, it ignores the text prompt when stylizing the image. So obviously it doesn't totally ignore the text prompt. That would be useless when applying the stylization. I would describe the results as conceptual abstractions. And so check it out. We'll take a look at honeybees pollinating purple flowers. Iteration 60 again. So no raw style tag here. It's just everything's looking beautiful. We got these awesome bees that are working hard and industriously to pollinate these purple flowers. However, if I enter that tag, if I slide it in right there, raw style equals true, you can see that things definitely stylistically just decide to go their own way. So this guy's a bee. I would call him a bee, and we got a bee bottom down here. But this guy is like a bee moth or something along those lines. Very cool, I think. This pupa thing right here, chrysalis, if you will. And then we just have these bee beetles, which are totally awesome. So the style is allowed to drift from the prompt. All right, we have more. Actually, one more. This is the last one of the 7 to send you on your merry way. It's fix face. Fix-face equals auto We'll see what this is in a moment, and a value X. So the algorithm, which is auto, that is the algorithm, that is to say, used to fix the faces and the threshold of certainty X, that a face is actually a credible face. The supported range for that credible face thing is 0 to 100. I found I just had to kick the tires for this one and just try it out. Everything else, and they don't work. So 0 to 100 gets the results you may be looking for. And then the alternates to auto, by the way, so you have to enter something before the comma, are none, anon, and enhance. So anonymous, I gather. All right, so I came up with this time around. I tried to make the goddesses work, by the way. I had very little luck, if any. It just seems to be gods and their beards with these statues' faces that we have right here. All right, so I just entered the faces. They're, in various states of facery. So then I tried that fix face function right there. Notice that I did not include this time. I want you to see that I did not include iterations. So it's just the default iterations this time around, just so we can rely on fixed face by itself. Fixed face equals auto, and then the credibility factor is 0. Just so that we can compare things. I don't know why you'd go with a low credibility value, but here we have what we have. So some of the faces work better than others. I would say these faces don't work as well as the faces next door. None of them are all that great, but so why don't we try cranking up that credibility value to 50, and things are looking better indeed. This central face inside of the M looks great. These faces around the O also look nice, that the fact that they're facing different directions. This guy has a couple of irises inside of his eye, and so we still have a range for better credibility. So I'm still using auto and for the algorithm, and I've cranked the value up to 100, and things are looking, I would say, better indeed. We're not having any luck with the ladies here. This guy is the only guy without a beard, and he looks like a gent to me. In any event, let's try something else. What about none? I don't know why you would go with none. No algorithm. We'll just try none. And I went ahead and set the value to 0 as well. And yet, we've got some, I would say, a moderate degree of success. We have especially a lot of detail inside the beards and this guy's hair, freaky guy's hair right here, and inside this guy's hair as well. And then we have whatever these are, robot eyes up here at the top. Let's try enhance. I just figured, because the whole sci-fi movie enhance thing where you just want to keep enhancing the Minority Report or whatever. I'm confusing my movies. This is enhanced with a value of 100, and we have very good looking faces indeed, at least from my perspective. Why not take those faces and make them look even better by throwing on a tag of iterations equals 60. So we're just trying to make everything as good as possible. You could throw in a guidance equals 25 value as well if you wanted to, and we end up with these very nice looking faces here. So let's recap, why don't we? Here are the various tags that I showed you, the 7 tags to get you started. This is how they work, and these are the ranges where their values are concerned. And I can't leave you inside of the Photoshop slideshow, so let's return to Firefly and actually generate Greek gods and goddesses, statue faces, fixed face, enhance 100, iterations equals 60, and see what we come up with. It is going to take a fair moment or two for all this stuff to apply. And you can, by the way, I could switch text color to one of these preset colors as well if I wanted to make things even bluer. For example, I could select this sky blue shade right here, at which point, of course, Firefly is going to regenerate the effect one letter at a time. And then I really can't recommend this enough. Go ahead and click on each one of these variations, unless you look at them and you think, they're all terrible. Go ahead and click on them. Oh yeah, see this guy's face right here? Not as good as I thought it was going to be. It was looking pretty good at first, but then you can just let all those letters generate. It will take a moment or two, but you can track the generation down here in what is otherwise the refresh button. And then if I just go ahead and click on the first one, because I'm working backward in the case of these 4 variations that I have up on screen, then now from this point on, each one of them is going to load very quickly, and that way I can just go ahead and download them one at a time and make sure that I do download every single one of them here inside Firefly. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And incidentally, you want to create this? A lush collection of AI ingredients blended together inside Photoshop? Then join me at my Patreon, which is patreon.com/DeekNow. And then go to Deek.com and sign up for my newsletter. I'm Deke McClellan. This is Deek Now.